Welcome to the Women in Industry podcast. My name is Kirsty Davies Chinook, and this is the last episode in Series 4. Do not know where the time has gone, and I am delighted to welcome Fiona McGarry, who is a Sector Engagement Manager from Enginuity. Enginuity exists to ensure that the UK engineering and manufacturing sector has people with the right skills at the right time. The problem-solving abilities of today's engineers and manufacturers are crucial for addressing the most significant challenges facing our society now and in the future. And we seem to have more challenges arrive every single day. So thank you so much for coming onto the podcast, Fiona.
No, thank you for inviting me.
I've known you for a few years now, and you've worked in education, but within the manufacturing sector for a while, from JLR at Birmingham Metropole College, which was a huge endeavour, and you really championed getting more women into the automotive sector. So you've seen over 15 or so years you've been doing this, how things have changed. How would you say that engagement for young people now, for careers in manufacturing sector, all of them, has changed over the last sort of 13, 14 years? Or has it changed?
Yeah, no, I think it definitely has. I mean, I grew up 5 minutes away from Solihull Jaguar Land Rover plant, and there was no way in a million years I was going to work in a car factory. It just did not appeal to me at all. A couple of friends did. And then I ended up there by chance after being at uni and working with young people running their education partnership centres. And literally that first time I walked around the factory and saw a sheet of metal coming in and eventually a luxury vehicle going out, I fell in love with manufacturing then, and then just thought, if more people could see what it was like, they would totally. And the education partnership centres at Jaguar Land Rover were brilliant. They used to have 20,000 young people come through. And they were having 7-year-olds come around their factories way before anyone else. And I think that really changed, because we grow up and we have this perception that manufacturing's dirty, horrible, male orientated, and as a young female you won't do well in it. And I think automotive, and it wasn't perfect when I was there was issues and problems and stuff, but I think automotive has worked so hard over the last 15 to 20 years. And it is a brilliant environment for young females to thrive now. We launched Young Women in the Know when I was there, because at the time only 3% of the apprentices were female. So graduates tended to come through a bit more as female, but not the apprentices. And it was a structured programme. And then by the time I left after 3 years, that intake that year was 54% female, which was absolutely brilliant. And then I ended up following those female apprentices to Make UK, where they did their training. And I think the perception of manufacturing has improved dramatically, and I really champion apprenticeships, and the perception of apprenticeships has improved dramatically. I think people are realising now uni isn't the answer. And within our sector, I always think that level 3 apprentice is the perfect way to come into it, because even if you go on and do a degree or anything like that afterwards, you've got that real grounding. And I think more and more people are switching on to it. And we've seen a real shift in the last 2 years around manufacturing and around apprenticeships. But unfortunately, due to external challenges like budget and things like that, less and less SMEs, which are the lifeblood of manufacturing, are now taking on apprentices. And it's just a real shame, because we've got to the point now where we've got loads of young people interested. We've got parents realising it's a great career. And now we just don't have the vacancies available.
I think it's difficult, speaking as an SME and speaking as someone who's done this for a very long time. 30 years ago, we could work with an apprenticeship company, and, we don't need an apprentice who can run a CNC laser or a lathe or knows how to bend metal or fold metal or anything like that. So what we used to do was work with an apprenticeship provider, and we wrote our own bespoke apprenticeship, and it was great. And the fact the first person we did that for celebrates his 32nd year with us this year. I think that was way back when it was YTS, even then it was called.
Yeah.
But that worked really, really well. And we've had sort of apprentices over the years that have sort of been here for a couple of years. We've worked with an external apprenticeship provider. And the apprenticeship provider will go, oh, it's great for metalworking. We teach them how to do that. And we go, we don't do that. Teach them how to do that. Yeah, we don't do that. And it's like nothing that they're actually doing will relate. And they'll go, we've got a polishing bit. And I'll go, hand polishing. And they'll go, yeah. And I'll go, don't hand polish. There is nothing you are teaching them that is going to be relevant to the day job that they're doing. Now, that is a sweeping statement. And obviously, learning to work safely, learning to work with other people, learning to be in a work environment, those are skills that are really well taught by a lot of providers. But when it comes down to put the sheet on there, put it through the machine and produce that finish, that's obviously all internal. And it can be quite frustrating trying to find the right provider to work with. But I think you're right. I think perception has improved. Although I do query whether it's apprenticeship perception has improved as university debt has sort of increased. And people are looking at it and going, hang on, I'm 30. I've paid £1,000 a year and it's gone down by £2,000 over the last 10 years.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money for people to be saddled with. It really is. It's really scary.
I think a lot of parents, degree apprenticeships are a really good option for them because they still see their child as getting a degree. They are less convinced about that level 3 advanced apprenticeship. And I think there is a little bit of work still to do there. But no, definitely. And it is, there's people doing degree apprenticeships now that would have gone to university anyway. And degree apprenticeships were around social mobility, I think, and it was giving that opportunity to people who couldn't necessarily afford to go down that route, and they're being taken away by people who would have done it anyway. And it is how we can ensure that we make it accessible to all.
And I have very limited understanding of this because it's not what I do. But are T-levels there instead of apprenticeships, aren't they?
Yes, they complement it. So it's a different route. So currently you've got A-levels, T-levels, or an apprenticeship. So at 16, you can go down any of those routes. So B-levels are coming in shortly, but that's another thing. So that's just going to confuse everyone, but we'll just concentrate on T-levels. So T-levels is for that young person that doesn't necessarily want to go down that apprenticeship route, but wants to be more hands-on than an A-level and wants to get that practical experience, but still not sure. They might want to do the university route, but they know that they want to be more practical. But the problem is, and I think within this sector, this is where we tend to struggle, they have to get 50 days work experience, like a work experience placement as part of their T-level, and they can't complete their T-level without that placement. And that is where we struggle to get, so I go out to employers and tell them about T-levels all the time to try and get them to take on placements. But I also say, even if you can't do that, you need to understand what a T-level is, because you'll have people applying to your company that have T-levels. But we do need more placements available for those young people who want to go down that route.
And I know this, and you'll know it better than I, that when you're taking on a 16 or 17-year-old, they are legally a child. Putting them in a manufacturing, engineering, working environment has a lot more safeguards now than it did 35 years ago.
Yeah.
And it should have those safeguards in. That is not a criticism. So it's making sure that the employers know before they do the placement what they need to have. Have they got someone DBS checked? Are they the safeguarding lead? And all those sort of things that, tick all the boxes before you even start talking to you.
Yeah.
And then that removes a lot of those challenges for the potential employer and gives a smoother pass, doesn't it?
Yeah. And Gatsby have done some brilliant work around guides in order for doing T-level placements, and Careers and Enterprise have for work experience, because that's the other thing now. You've got your T-level requirement, but now there is a government requirement for all young people at secondary school to do 2 weeks work experience between year 7 and year 11. So that includes the traditional 1 week that people used to do at year 10. But there is another week, and what it tends to be made up of is 1-day placements or virtual work experience. And I think that's where we need to get a bit cleverer within manufacturing and engineering, is to showcase through those opportunities as well.
It's potentially a really clever way to start recruiting the next generation. Yeah. No, that is very, very interesting. And when the young people are working with Enginuity, for example, or other organisations, actually showcasing their skills as well, what they've learned, it is a brilliant thing to do. Not only for the individuals, because who doesn't like to be recognised and rewarded, but also for the companies, so they can see the calibre of people that they can attract. And I know Enginuity is in its 12th year of running their skills awards. We're recording this at the end of January, and it will go out at the end of February. And the deadline is coming up, so we'll put a post out on our socials to get people nominated. But what do you like best to see from the entrance? What makes your heart sing?
I just love seeing the diverse young talent that are coming through. I mean, they are, and what some of them have achieved and what some of them have overcome is amazing. So we have an advanced level apprenticeship category. Now, not everyone has that. They tend to just have an apprentice category. And I think that advanced level apprentice can sometimes get lost with a degree apprentice, because they're able to do more and push themselves more in terms of achievements within a company. So it's nice to have it separate. We also have a T-level category, and in those categories, the winner of each category gets £1,000, which, that's if you're excellent. 80, 20, whatever, that's amazing. So they get, and then the second and third places get £500 each. But it's showcasing the impact that you've had in a company or what you've been able to achieve. And then we also have a category for SMEs that are really investing in that skills space, a category for large employers, and then we have a training provider category, and then we've got 2 other categories, one around a programme that could be inspiring people into our sector, so it's new talent, so different initiatives, and there's some brilliant initiatives out there that perhaps are small, but they could definitely be scaled up. And then there's the collaboration award, which is about organisations really working hand in hand and the difference that can be made. And we've had some brilliant winners. And then on the night, out of all of those 8 categories, a best of British is selected every time. So last year, it was a lovely young lad Mohammed, who won the T-level category, and he won overall for what he's overcome and what he's going to go on to achieve. But it's just brilliant seeing the young people in particular coming through and their passion for our sector.
Oh, well, congratulations to Mohammed last year. Yeah. It'll be great to see who wins it this year.
Yes, definitely.
When is the awards? What month is the awards in?
So the awards are the 1st of July in London. And we need more boys to enter, which isn't something I normally say. I'm always championing females. But I think awards are dominated by young females these days, which is great. But we also need to be able to see those, and I just think they don't tend to push themselves forward or shout about what they do. And we've had this big obsession with getting more females into the sector, but we do need to see those young males shining through as well, because they're doing brilliant work as well.
Oh, well, I look forward to seeing who wins when it's all announced in July. And you mentioned some of the sort of partnerships that you work with in those categories, and you do a lot of work, not just with industry but with academia as well, on bringing them together to collaborate. You mentioned collaboration earlier. What does that collaboration mean to you? What do you get out of it?
I just love connecting academia and industry. I was at an event last week where it was all around HE, and I've not done a lot in HE before. It's more mainly been schools and FE. And I think with SMEs in particular, we all know that they're time poor and that they're stretched. But it's like if you could just spend time with your local secondary and your local primary, because I've been at those careers fair before where that local SME will come in year 10 or 11, and the young people have no idea who they are, and they all run to the Jaguar Land Rover stand and they all run to the big names, and it's about just building up those contacts. So we launched a book in collaboration with Pertemps this year called Girls Can Engineer. I've actually got a copy here, I'll just show you.
I know. Pertemps contacted me about it and were like, "Will you tell everybody about this?" And I did, and then you were like, "Yay!" And I was so happy about that. I think it's an amazing book. I'm so glad you're working with them.
Yeah, and it's for primary school children, and it just explains, because everyone says engineering, but what kind of engineering? So it just breaks it down into really simple terms so they can understand the different types of engineering. And then we've worked with them to extend it slightly by including some relatable role models. So some young females that are doing really well in our sector. And Precious, she's a fantastic apprentice at Festo. She got really emotional when she saw herself in the book. Yeah, we were at the House of Commons for an event, and she saw herself and she went, "This is what I needed when I was at school." She goes, I needed to see someone who looks like me, but I also needed an understanding of what engineering was and what. So we've started working with them, but what we've done is we've left a page in the book for the SME to put some information about themselves. And then SMEs can contact us and we'll give them 12 books to go out to their local primaries. And it's just a way of introducing yourself to that local primary, and you're giving something to them, but it makes that connection. And those young people will be driving past your business or your factory, and they'll remember that. And then when you come and see them in secondary, it's just those multiple touch points. And I think it isn't just a one-off thing. And it's like the West Midlands, manufacturing festival that we've got coming up in a couple of weeks that you're involved in. It's those multiple touch points and just opening young people's eyes to the breadth of our sector and the different things that you can get involved in. And I used to often tell the apprentices that when I was at a training centre, don't just go after the big companies because you're just one of many. They'll take on 50, 60. But if you go to an SME and you've got the right attitude and the right, demeanour, you can do really, really well because there is that opportunity to grow with that business. So it is, don't exclude the SME because there's great opportunities.
And that's the thing. I mean, if you look at mentioned JLR, and that they've got a great apprenticeship program.
Yeah,
even going back when it was Rover, and prior to the expansion of JLR, one of the things we used to get frustrated as SME employers was we would like 2 apprentices, please, but we want to take them on and then we want to give them a job immediately. Yeah, they're going to come in, have a job, they can be here in 30 years. That's fine. That's what they want to do. Whereas a large, big OEM would take on 500 apprentices and they're going to give 20 a job. And it's like, really? Come on, we're going to give 100% of our apprentices a job. Put us on the list. Yeah. And that's the difficult thing, because for a lot of SMEs, apprenticeship is about longevity of the business. And it's about training the next generation of engineers, operators, salespeople, finance people, marketers, tech people, whoever. And we want them to come in and we want them to make their mark. And you have a lot more autonomy in SMEs. Because if there's 20 of you and you come up with an idea, you can just do it. And if it works, you get all the praise. So,
and that's what I think young people need to realise, that, you've got that opportunity for people to know exactly what you're doing and what you're saying rather than get lost.
I have to give a shout out to Enginuity's 365 project. So you're highlighting a woman or an ally each day of the year to encourage a more diverse talent pool into the engineering and manufacturing sector, and it's coming towards the end now. And it's one of the highlights of my week on LinkedIn, because I'm always like, oh, I know them. Oh, I know them. It's just fabulous. It's even more interesting when I go, oh, I don't know who them. What do they do?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then I fall it down into stalking them on their LinkedIn profile just to see what they're. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, I didn't know you could do that. But how did that project come about? What made you think of doing that?
So I've been working, obviously, trying to get more females into the sector for a long time, and I've seen it steadily, particularly around engineering, that percentage steadily increase from. There was one of the ladies in it. She was saying it was 3% when she started. So I've been around from when it was like 9%, and then it reached the heady height of 16.5% in 2022. So it was like, we're doing all this work, we're attracting people, it's brilliant. And then in 2023, it dropped to 15.7. And it's like, right, something's going on here. So I started doing a lot of work around, it was slow enough, the increase, but to now have a decrease. And that's when it was highlighted that we're losing loads of women. So we're doing all this brilliant work. Like, there's so many initiatives and so many great things. And people are coming into our sector and they're leaving. And why are they leaving? And it's around that 35 to 44 that we're losing a lot of females. Yeah. So I started doing some work around male allies and the importance of male allies, because they're the dominated group. And if they're not championing women and pushing them forward for opportunities, and around, seeing those young girls who are coming in, seeing a future for themselves, they need to see those women who are further up in their career. So we decided to launch 365, and we wanted to ensure every week we had representation, because I think that's the other issue as well. It's very difficult for everyone to see somebody who looks like them. Yeah. So we've worked really, really hard to ensure representation, and to ensure we also highlight those male allies and hopefully grow those male allies, because we've all got to come together. And it is the favourite part of my week. And I've been down many a rabbit hole looking at people's things, because I've come from manufacturing to now have the whole of engineering as well. And I think Amelia Busby is one of my main rabbit holes. Marine engineering, like, I'd never known all that was in marine engineering. So she's fantastic. And we've had a few themes of different weeks and stuff. Like, one week, it was just the best. So there's Professor Mehmet, he's from Middlesex University. He's adorable, a fantastic professor within robotics and mechatronics. And I've known him a few years now, and I've met many girls, very diverse girls, who are only in this sector because of him and because of how he supported them. So he was in July, and we had him as the male ally, and then the other 6 females that week were all engineers because of him. And he got quite emotional about it, and the girls all wrote such brilliant things about it. And it is that, like, and Vince Pizzoni, he's an amazing male ally. These male allies, like, he's just recently mentored his 1,000th female. It's like, male allies who do it right can really enable us to really grow and thrive. So that's why I've really loved 365, and we're bringing everyone together who can make it in March, which I'm really looking forward to. And then we are going to continue it, because we're getting more and more referrals. So we are going to keep shining a light on those. And it is those. I think a lot of people in our sector feel that they have to have a charity, win an award, do all this extra stuff. And it's like, you can just do your job and be really good at your job. You don't have to constantly be overcompensating for the fact that you're a female.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I think something the British aren't very good at as a mass generalisation, and the manufacturing and engineering sectors are even worse at, is shouting about how great we are. And when you talk about Vince and all the work he's done, and he's been a mentor to 1,000 women, he should be on the front page of every bloody newspaper, It should be that he's celebrated for opening the doors to some fantastic, talented young people to come into this sector who need them. And we need to be talking about him and people like him who are doing this on a daily basis, because they're not shouting about it, because they're just going, oh, it's just what you do. Well, no, it's not what they do, but it's what you're doing. And
Yeah,
we want to make sure you're recognised, and we want to say, you know what, thank you, because you're
yeah,
bringing incredibly talented people into our sector, which is going to benefit all of us. It's
definitely.
we when we're talking about young people, what is what are they saying to you about what they want from their career path when they're looking at manufacturing? What do they want? How do they want their work-life balance to look? Because I think that's really changed over the last few years, and I'm wondering if you're seeing that.
I think there is this perception that young people all want work at home jobs, and they don't. And I think that's what they enjoy about our sector. And I think things are changing, because I can't imagine starting off my career and working at home and not being in that. Like, I learned so much from being around people that had been there longer, and seeing, and and it's very easy just to tap them on the shoulder and ask them a question. If you're at home and you've got to team somebody or email somebody, it can make it really, really tricky. And I think that's what they like about our sector. Manufacturing, there's a lot of camaraderie and stuff, isn't it? It is, a lot of it is teamwork and ensuring you all work together, and
Yeah.
there isn't that work from home opportunity. And I think that's what young people really like about our sector, is they are in a team, they are supporting each other, and it's hands-on and varied. Even if it's like a day-to-day kind of thing that you're working on a particular machine, there usually is some variety in it.
Oh
But
yeah,
that's what I
definitely.
think, yeah, and I think that's what young people like about the fact that they are surrounded by people, and they've got that, because it can be quite lonely and isolating with some of these roles that are coming out now, where you're based at home and you don't really, everything's through a screen. And it can also then, that can also be daunting for young people. But I think that's what they like. And it's that sense of satisfaction and achievement you get from manufacturing. You've created something, or you've contributed to creating something. And like, I'm still a geek when I'm out and about and I see a Jaguar Land Rover vehicle, because if you've known how something's made, or, and you with your stainless steel, when the covers are kept on and stuff, it's that
Take
sense
the
of pride.
tape off.
Yeah, it's
Drives
that
me
sense of
crackers.
pride that you don't get in other sectors. And I think that's what, and making a difference, I think that's why young people are drawn to our sector.
And I think there is the ability in manufacturing and engineering, particularly how technology has played a role, how we've innovated over the last 3 or 4 decades since I've been involved. Gosh, I am really that old now. And sustainability and productivity go hand in hand, particularly for SMEs, because
Yeah,
if you're not productive, you're not making a profit, you're not going to be here. But the more we can be sustainable, and mostly, hand on heart, it was a pipe dream. It was I'd love to, but I can't afford to, but I'd love to. But a lot of it is really being impacted with the increase in energy costs,
yeah.
and how that has, well, it's sent firms to the wall. It's been really bad over the last few years. But I think young people look at the world differently to
Yeah.
me, and sustainability, equality,
Oh, yeah.
they are at the top of their shopping list when it comes to who do I
Yeah.
want to work with. How can you tell me what you do is going to improve the world?
Yeah.
And
And they don't stick around either. That's the thing. They will move on if things aren't.
yeah,
That's the thing you also need to be mindful of. If you sell a dream to a young person, and when they come, the reality is very different. They
yeah,
haven't got this inclination. They have to stay. So it is around, ensuring that you are living what you're telling the young people before
yeah.
they join you.
I think that's, and what we're seeing as well, in our industry, is when you're sort of talking to people, sort of at the interview stage, they're going, okay, and what will my career path be? Where will I be in
Yeah.
a year or 2 years? And, our industry in particular would be like, well, you come in and you learn to do sales, and then if you get really good at it, you might get promoted to a sales manager or team leader, or focus on one particular sector and just be the go-to for that. and then if you get better at that, then that might happen. And for SMEs, there's not really been this sort of defined career path, and we're sort of having to change that very quickly. We're having to look at, okay, well, within your first 12 months, you will learn this, and it will be delivered externally as well as internally, just so you can see your achievements and be rewarded for them. So I think it's different.
And validation. They love validation. I think because they've grown up on social media and likes and all this stuff. It is, and I think it's a different mindset for my generation, reminding them that they're doing well and stuff. And it doesn't have to be monetary or things like that, but it is, that recognition and reminding them that they're doing well. They really thrive on that. And I think that's a different mindset for people to get into.
Yeah, and I think that's, if you like, almost the darker side of growing up on social media.
Yeah.
Because, my generation is, if you're not getting yelled at, you're doing it right, when you join the workplace. If someone walks past and says good morning, it's like, oh, I had a good day yesterday. It's sort of 17. Yeah. If they scream at you for an hour, you go, yeah, okay, I had a bad day. Whereas it's completely the opposite. They're assuming, don't want to put words into people's mouths, but they need that you did that well to give them that, oh, great. And it's nice to say to someone, look, you learnt that new skill last week. You've been using it this week. You're getting better, slicker, more precise. Well done.
Yeah.
Whether that's learning to do a formula in a spreadsheet or running a polishing machine, whatever it is, it's really, really good to sort of see that. And I think having that constant feedback is really going to help develop the confidence, because again, I think we really need to make sure that we're giving people the confidence to step into the next level of their career as a young person. Oh, I could talk to you about this all day, but I'm not going to, because we're already over time. Fiona, finally, what's the best advice you've ever received?
Well, I've had lots of really, really good advice, but I would think the best one is don't wait to feel ready. So in engineering and manufacturing, women are often told that we need to be perfect before we step forward, but confidence usually comes afterwards. And it's every time you speak up or every time you apply for a role or do an event or something, you're visible, and then you're helping that next generation come through. And I think more of us need to be visible, because you don't need to be the only woman in the room. But if you are, you've got to be visible, and you've got to ensure that other young people can see that there is those opportunities for them, and creating opportunities for that next generation, championing them, putting them forward, celebrating the great diverse talent we've got coming through.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Fiona. And I look forward to seeing you again soon.
Yes, thank you. See you in March.
Yes, in March.